You didn't wake up today looking for answers. Not in the way you used to, because some part of you already knows what's happening, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. There's been a quiet shift, a slow unraveling of something unspoken. Not a breakdown, not an epiphany, but the subtle awareness that the version of life you've been living has expired. And even though everything still looks the same, your body no longer recognizes it as yours. It's in the way your breath hesitates before routines, the way your energy pulls back when you're about to say yes, the way your smile doesn't quite land where it used to. You're still moving through the motions, but something in your field has unplugged. And the life you're walking through now, it feels like a broadcast you can't tune into anymore. It's not because you're confused. It's not because you're ungrateful. It's because you've outgrown the frequency you once called home. The identity you built for survival, the goals that once fueled your motion, the version of you who chased clarity like a lifeline, they've all done their job. But they can't follow you here. Because here, in this strange, sacred stillness, you're not reaching for the next step. You're remembering that the path was never outside of you. And even if you can't explain it yet, you can feel it. The pulse of something ancient, whispering underneath the noise, saying, "This isn't the end. This is the exit." At first, it doesn't feel like transformation. It feels like nothing. You wake up and the old excitement is gone. The old triggers don't sting the same way. You look at your to-do list and every item feels like a costume from a past life. You're not breaking down, but you're not building up either. You're suspended, floating between realities. This isn't apathy. It's a refusal. A refusal to keep feeding what no longer resonates. A refusal to energize systems, patterns, and promises you never consciously agreed to. You're not tired in your body. You're tired in your field. Tired of keeping the simulation alive. Tired of trading authenticity for approval. And this fatigue? It's not weakness. It's intelligence. It's the intelligence of a system that's recalibrating itself to a new frequency. Because there comes a time in every awakening when the noise falls away. Not because you figured it all out, but because you stopped pretending you had to. You no longer perform alignment. You no longer rush your healing. You no longer seek permission to feel what you feel. And the silence that follows, it isn't empty. It's sacred. It's where your soul returns to its own signal. The one that doesn't shout. The one that doesn't beg. The one that just is. You might be wondering why nothing feels urgent anymore. Why the world feels quieter, thinner, almost translucent. Why your old goals feel like echoes. It's not because you've lost direction. It's because you're exiting the map that kept you moving in circles. And for the first time, you're allowing space for the truth to arrive without forcing it through the lens of survival. There's a moment in every real shift where the world stops pulling on your strings. You still see the headlines. You still hear the conversations. You still show up in rooms you once tried to dominate or disappear into. But something's changed, and it's not out there. It's in you. You no longer contract to fit the space. You no longer expand to prove your worth. You simply exist, not from defiance, but from recognition. A recognition that the show you've been performing in was built on a script you never wrote, and now the mask is too heavy to carry. The words fall from your mouth, but you can hear the hollowness. The ambitions still light up in your mind, but your body doesn't move. You sit in conversations and realize you're no longer in them. You're watching them. This is not dissociation. This is deprogramming. It's the sacred detachment that happens when your nervous system stops broadcasting the frequency of fear, urgency, and shame. You may not feel brave. You may not feel ready. But the version of you that thought readiness came from preparation is the one that's dissolving. And what's surfacing in its place is the version of you that doesn't perform truth, but lives it. A truth that doesn't need explanation. A presence that doesn't chase belonging. A knowing that whispers, "I don't need to fight for alignment. I am alignment." And yes, this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because even as you rise, the world will ask for your echo. It will ask you to return to your roles, your rhythms, your routines. It will tug at your guilt, your loyalty, your conditioning. But you'll feel it, the difference. You'll feel the weight in your chest when you say yes out of habit. You'll feel the static in your field when you force yourself to care. You'll feel the dissonance between the story you've been telling and the signal you finally started to hear. And that dissonance, that's your initiation, not into clarity, but into congruence. This part feels like being stretched between timelines, not metaphorically, energetically, because two versions of you are now coexisting. The one that still remembers how to navigate the old world, and the one that's already tuning into the new. One wakes up and checks the metrics, the other opens its eyes and listens for silence. One wants to maintain the structures, emails, posts, patterns, performance. The other wants to dissolve into a field where none of that defines value. And neither is wrong. Both were born from love. Even the performative self was a form of self-protection, a response to a world that taught you survival meant shapeshifting. But survival isn't the assignment anymore. Presence is, and presence requires you to stop negotiating your truth for temporary comfort. So now you're being asked, not by the world, but by your own energy, to choose resonance over recognition, to stop offering fragments of yourself in exchange for a belonging that never honored your wholeness. And the body knows. You try to push through and feel exhausted. You try to please and feel hollow. You try to speak the old language, and your throat tightens. This is not resistance. This is realignment. It's the nervous system reclaiming its intelligence, because even if your mind hasn't caught up, your frequency already has. You may notice that people don't respond the way they used to, that environments feel off, that you're both craving solitude and terrified of disappearing. But solitude is no longer isolation, it's integration. You're not escaping the world. You're recalibrating your participation in it, because the version of you that once performed to be seen is being gently laid to rest. Not as a failure, but as a fulfilled archetype. It did what it had to do. And now it's time for a different expression, one that doesn't need applause, only authenticity. This reconciliation isn't about choosing one version over another. It's about acknowledging the one who got you here and giving the new one full permission to stay. Something quiet, yet irreversible, has begun. It doesn't make noise like breakthrough moments usually do. It doesn't come with epiphanies or declarations. It comes as breath, deeper, slower. It comes as choices, smaller, truer. It comes as clarity, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that simply doesn't waver anymore. You stop rehearsing old conversations in your head. You stop pretending that certain environments don't drain you. You stop negotiating your gut feelings with your logical mind. Because now, your nervous system isn't waiting for proof. It's leading. There is no grand reintroduction of your new self. No announcement that says, I've changed. Because change isn't something you're claiming. It's something you're embodying. You say no, and it doesn't come with guilt. You say yes, and it doesn't come from pressure. You move slower, but everything aligns faster. You rest more, but your energy feels fuller. You speak less, but your presence carries weight. This is the rise of frequency-based reality. You no longer chase things because you should. You attract them because you're not trying anymore. Your energy speaks for you, and what responds to that is what was always meant for you. But here's what makes this stage different than all the others. You no longer confuse emptiness with lack. You recognize it as space, space for the real, the resonant, the soul-built. You're no longer trying to fix your life. You're learning to listen to it. You're no longer seeking your purpose. You're aligning with the frequency that reveals it. You're no longer performing clarity. You're walking with uncertainty, without apology. This isn't about building the new you. It's about letting the oldest part of you, the eternal, undistorted frequency of truth, finally lead. And when it does, nothing looks the same. Not because everything outside changed, but because what's inside is no longer fragmented. You've become indivisible. So now, when you enter a room, the field shifts, not because of what you say, but because of what you stopped suppressing. And if this part of you, the coherent, aligned, unapologetically present part, feels unfamiliar, it's only because it was hidden behind effort for so long. Now, it's here. And it's not going anywhere. You didn't just survive the shift. You became the shift. There was no applause, no milestone marked, no external sign saying you've arrived. But your field knows. Your breath knows. The silence between your thoughts knows. You're no longer chasing timelines that belong to past versions of you. You're no longer running from discomfort to find safety. Because now, you understand. Safety is resonance. And resonance doesn't require effort, it requires honesty. The version of you that used to perform worthiness, that used to shrink to stay liked, that used to hustle for validation, that version dissolved quietly. Not because it was wrong, but because it was complete. What rose from that dissolution wasn't a better you, it was the original you. The one who remembers, the one who doesn't negotiate intuition, the one who doesn't collapse just to keep the peace. You are now anchored in the unspoken. You are now fluent in the frequency beneath words. You are now grounded in a truth that cannot be distorted. Not by systems, not by people, not by the noise. This isn't awakening anymore. This is arrival. And what you're stepping into now, it isn't a new role. It's a new rhythm, one that doesn't demand explanation, one that doesn't bow to urgency, one that moves at the speed of truth. So, breathe. You don't need to do more. You don't need to become more. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, not even to yourself. You are already the field. You are already the signal. You are already aligned. Let this be the message that doesn't end when the video fades. Let it echo, not in your mind, but in your choices, in your stillness, in your refusal to return to distortion. Because this is what coherence feels like. And you finally remembered how to hold it.